Okay, so I've seen a lot of posts about the plantation house that was burnt down, and there's a lot of different takes on what's happening in the spiritual realm. And I have to make my disclaimer. I'm not a hoodoo practitioner or a practitioner of one of those faiths, right? So my take on what's happening will differ from someone else's take on what's happening. And that is all based on the practice. And I say that because I don't want to be disrespectful to someone else's opinion of what is happening. I want to offer you an opinion from my practice and my faith and my upbringing, because I do know that spirits can be trapped in a house, in a person, in a car, in a thing, in a place, in a yard. That's part of spiritual warfare. And I grew up with a grandmother who was proficient at trapping spirits in places. And so then the question becomes, if you can trap a spirit in a place, can you release a spirit from a place? And the answer is yes. And there's multiple ways to do it. And so people are speaking to the fire and the fact that they see the spirits in the window and they see spirits to the side. And so each of those spirits is in a different place and represents a different thing. If you see a spirit outside and it looks like that spirit is looking back, that spirit may not have been trapped in the house. That spirit may have been trapped on the grounds. They may have been buried, killed somewhere, something traumatic happened in a space, and they are looking back at the place where all of the atrocities occurred. And you can also see spirits on one level, the first level and the second level. And some people says it looks like those spirits are standing still, like right, they're not leaving. And in that case, the fire itself is not releasing those spirits because they are trapped in a different way. But then there's spirits that are actually escaping, and you can see the spirits kind of leaving as the fire is burning. And those spirits were actually released. And there's a difference into as to why some were released and some were kind of still, and then some were watching. And that is all about how they were actually tied to that area and tied to that land and what happened to trap them there, right? And I understand everyone has a different belief, but this is how I was raised. And the connection to those spirits that are remaining are still here. There's a connection to them that's still holding them here. It was more than just the house. The house was the prison in essence, the physical essence, but this is akin to a practitioner who is still living, who has not released those souls. So in my practice, in my world, that practitioner would be the anchor for that person to this place, right? Not just the physical house. And because that practitioner is still around, and yes, there were practitioners of different skin tones at different levels. And there's also practitioners who were working against people. So there's multiple levels to what is going on the spiritual side. Am I relieved for the spirits that were freed? Of course, because that can hopefully allow them to move forward to the next level. But the other thing is there's spirits that are released that are revengeful spirits that are going to wreak havoc. And people have to be aware of that. So I expect to hear more weird things happening that cause the unaliving of people, because those spirits are going to be roaming around as well. And then some spirits will have a sense of peace, and you won't see them standing and watching anymore. They will be able to move forward. Some spirits were waiting for a loved one who was trapped there because they had a spiritual tie. And I say these things specifically because, as a person who grew up literally watching spirits walk back and forth in the house and having to ask questions, when a spirit is trapped in a place, and especially if they're trapped with another spirit, they are longing to be free. They want to be free. They want to move on. But if they're trapped with another spirit, they move on as a dual unit, right? Not one moving before the other. Okay, this is what I know. This is what from the practices that I have, right? So I want to make that clear. Now, again, I want to be very respectful of what other people's practices and their beliefs are because you know based on what you were taught. And since I've never been a part of certain communities, I can't speak to theirs. I can only speak to what I've witnessed and what I know to be facts from my life. Okay? All right. So that's my take on it. Y'all have a good one.